Hey everybody, this is Daniel Kanow with Breakthrough Art, and I've got artist here, Liphus Swindall, coming from the South, who I've had a chance to work with for some time. He's a fantastic artist, growing every day, making new work. It's really impressive. Liphus, welcome to this interview.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to see you again. It's nice to have an opportunity to talk art with you and talk about the work that you have going on with you right now and opportunities that you have going on with your art. You seem to amaze me how much opportunity you keep creating and how much keeps happening for you. What's going on? Tell us about it.
Well, it's just the mindset, really. It's just a matter of determining what you want, claiming as your own, and reaching out and grabbing it. You can't
Nice.
just claim it; you got to grab it. You got to. There, action is required. You have to put yourself into the opportunities that exist. They're there. You just have to find them and immerse yourself in those situations.
100%. And doing that, like, give us an example. I know art's an important part of your life, from your career to your current work. What are you doing to grab onto that and to kind of claim that opportunity that arises for you?
Well, I stay involved in several local groups and finding new opportunities every every time reach out to other artists. I recently found a group that's only 30 miles away from home. I live out in a rural community, and so locally there's not a whole lot of opportunity. So I have to reach out, you know, 30 to 40 to 50 miles away. But it's an investment in what drives me in my art. And so just reaching out to these people and maintaining relationships and contact with them has proven to be very beneficial and to opening up our opportunities.
Fantastic. Let's talk more about that as we get into this interview here. First of all, tell us where you are. Where do you live and where do you make your art studio, and so
I'm
forth?
I'm in South Central Alabama in a town called Troy. There's a university here, so it's a smaller school, but you may have heard of it. I show in anywhere I can find an opportunity here locally, from 30 miles south in Ozark to 40 miles north in Montgomery, and to 50, 55, 60 miles north of that to Wetumpka, and a real lovely um, venue called the Kelly Fitzgerald Center for the Arts. It's in a little town called Wetumpka, which is an arts community. They have lots of galleries there, and lots of opportunities for showing. And then I also show in Montgomery at Southern Art Makers and Collective, which is a, a, a an art shop. They sell supplies. They have a studio space. They have classroom space, and a whole eclectic collective of artists. And then Sachs Galleries. It's Southern Sachs is, I can't remember what it stands for. Um, it's another collective gallery, and they have competition shows throughout the year, and so there's an opportunity to win money and as well as awards. As it's nice to get the rosette, on hanging on your painting. It's got some bragging rights when you win an award, and of course it makes you feel good. It boosts your ego and helps you create more.
Hmm.
Um, I work at my house. I don't cook, and I live next door to my dad, so I eat at my dad's house and use my kitchen as my studio. I've got three lovely
Wow.
large southern windows, so I have an immense amount of natural light, which has spoiled me. I've tried working in under fluorescent lights, and I just get so frustrated because the colors are different.
Right.
But you learn to adapt. Um, let's see. I live on out in, like I said earlier, in the rural area. Live on family land that's been farmed for 5 generations of my family. My
Amazing.
family started off as sharecroppers. My grandfather, and he was a logger. When he was able to make some money, he bought land that his family and my grandmother's family sharecropped, and so he managed to amass a couple hundred acres, and which was split between my mom and my aunt. But anyway, most of my art reflects the nature that I live in, and the forests and the fields and the country roads, and then on my more figurative side, my more
Hmm.
subjective side, and then I have a side that's more abstract and non-objective. That's a little more exploratory, a
Hmm.
little more experimental, and which I take all the lessons that I learned with that, and I try to apply those to my landscapes to keep my landscape fresh, keep it from
Nice.
looking, you know, quite so pastoral. Even though that it may be a pastoral scene, I don't necessarily approach it traditionally.
So I can see that art is super important to you. You're
Yes.
exploring different themes. Why is it so important to you? Like, what does it give you as a person to be able to make such a broad array of artwork and to be having it as part of your life where you're making it continually and continually? What does it do for you?
Well, it's like air. It's something that I have to have. Since I was a little boy, I have my mom has notebooks and notebooks of spiral bound notebooks upon stacks of them, that I would just grab a pen and a paper as a child, as a little toddler, and make marks. Um, it's just something I've always had to do my whole life, is making.
That air, that ability
Yeah.
to have yourself be filled with it all of the time, a necessity for your life. So tell us, you said there's some specific themes. Tell us a little more detail. I see, three different pieces of work around you that are very different methodologies, yet in some ways, as from my own artistic eye, are also very similar. So tell me
Okay.
how they're different and how they're similar and how these genres are feed you and give you the opportunity, the yearning to do what you do.
Well, this first piece here is a mixed media piece. The trees and the light poles and the wire and the outbuildings are all applied with uh, found materials, corrugated cardboard, plastic mesh, um, piece of yarn, thread, uh, again, cardboard, mesh. Um, and then I applied those on top of a very loose gestural landscape, um, keeping the clouds moving and full of color. Um then this piece here is completely non-objective, abstract, and it has a feeling like in the clouds. It's very free, very open. It's extremely thick paint. Um, I used carving tools from a baker set, for icing, to go in
Mhm.
there to dig into the paint and explore, and then layer it upon layer. It's probably 4 layers of really thick paint, and I just kept carving into it, trying to, and try to keep the colors vibrant and not making mud, but allowing them to mix. And then this is a self portrait I did 5 years ago. My beard was a little shorter then, um, different glasses, but that also I try to keep it loose and gestural, uh, minimize my brush strokes so there's a nice economy of marks. So each mark would make a difference, and not just be willy nilly. Very contemplative. I did a lot of standing back and looking at the mirror and then going in and making my mark with that one. That was definitely a lot more contemplative.
Tell me more, if you don't mind me asking, tell me more about that contemplative aspect of being loose and gestural and really being intentional with what you're creating, the theme of the work, the story behind the work, the mark making itself. Tell us.
I had a professor tell me, and then a fellow artist reiterate it, and so it just kind of drove it in home to paint from 7 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
That way, you're looking at it from a different perspective that you see than what you see when you're up close. You get to have all the optical effects, all the environmental conditions that come between you and the painting really affect what you see. And when you get far away, 3 or 4 marks may make all the difference in creating a sense of realism.
Mm-hmm.
And but you could go in there with a fine brush and really try to get it realistic and end up causing something that looks artificial. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So when you're saying, artificial versus realistic or expressionistic, is there
better?
Is there an aspect of that work that feels most authentic to you, to be doing something more realistic, doing something more loose and abstract versus doing something that tells a story? Like, how do you navigate between these different aspects of yourself and these different aspects of expressing it onto canvas with multiple materials?
Well, I get bored easily, and so keeping one single direction, huh?
It's good you have the art.
Oh, I get bored going in one direction, so I can explore something for a little while, and then I got to shift focus, because after a while it starts becoming rote. I think it becomes a little forced.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a better word, and it loses the looseness that I really, really like. You're talking about the realism versus expressionism. I think there's a fine line between the two of them. I recently watched a movie at this local cinema in Montgomery on Rembrandt and his later works, and how you stand back and it's like a photograph. It's just beautiful. But you zoom in and you get close, and he has scratched and he has wiped paint and he has blobbed paint directly from the tube.
Yeah.
And it's just a mess when you get up close.
Yeah.
And so I get goosebumps thinking about it, and how magical it is to allow this chaos to blend together optically into something that's perfection.
Is Rembrandt one of your artists of inspiration that if you were to go to a museum, you would seek out seeing a Rembrandt?
A Rembrandt and Van Gogh, their works are not so totally different when you get up close, because they, of course, Rembrandt didn't use as much paint as Van Gogh did, but they still layered it on pretty thick.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the foreground, this foreground is almost sculptural on Rembrandt stuff. I'm thinking of one of the Guild paintings in particular. There's a big tablecloth that's full of embroidery and pattern, and it's just amazing how the chaos again becomes so crystal and pristine. And then I forgot what else you were wanting me to talk about.
No, that's good. I'm interested in knowing a little more about that concept you're talking about of the chaos and creating it into pristine, creating it into something more refined. Do you find that when you're working figurative, landscape, portrait, abstract, mixed media, that you're playing in that domain of chaos, that you're also refining into something that feels more sublime and more calm and serene?
That's my goal, is to have create something that illustrates the chaos of life,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the bucket of stuff that we have to carry around,
Mm-hmm.
and have that moment of beauty come out of that.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful, beautifully said. That ties into kind of a more of a macro, perspective of what is the purpose of the art that you're making for the world, and art in general for the world in this time that we're living right now. How do you relate into that, to create that for others and for yourself?
Well, it's a struggle. I
Tell us
have a
more about the
piece.
struggle.
I have a piece that I illustrated that with this year. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to change it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So now you're into the more figurative, gestural aspects of that work. How does that work relate to the struggle?
This is the struggle to
Okay.
me. These figures represent the the fight that we are in for our lives right now. Um, democracy is at risk, and it's hard for some people to see that.
Yeah.
And you have to walk alongside these people every day, and you have to work with these people every day,
Yeah.
and you have to make do with it.
Yes.
And you have to realize that they are not the enemy. The people you're with are not the enemy. We're all in it together. And we just have to not lose sight of where the battle is. The battle, it's light versus dark when it comes down to the very, very basic um, forces at play. It's a light versus dark. And that's what I was trying to convey with this piece here was, battling through the light and dark, punching through it, getting through it, seeing through it.
It reminds me of like a very, very busy scene you would experience walking down a big city like in New York, um, where there's just thousands of people around you, but in essence, people are going different directions, and they've all got a different attitude and gesture within them. Someone feels more calm, someone else seems more aggressive, and then others, there's like a bystander. And kind of, how to tell us more about that painting? Just kind of like, I'm interested in that story that you're talking about. It's really interesting.
Well, it was devised from a series of gestures that I'd done through a life drawing session,
Hmm.
and I just kind of overlaid them in a manner where it was as though people were pushing past each other. Um, and then I had this one figure that was doing. It was supposed to be doing a bow and arrow archer position, but it came across as someone throwing a punch.
Okay.
And I thought, there's this guy here who's throwing a punch. This other person who's just sit there contemplating,
Uh-huh.
minding his own business, not
Yeah.
bothering anybody, and he's getting sucker punched.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else has their back turned, walking away from it.
Mm.
And you have a figure in the far background just sitting there, just not even paying attention to anything.
Yeah. It definitely has it rings true to so much of what we can feel these days, of what you were saying. Our neighbors are our neighbors, they're our friends.
Right.
Despite our viewpoints, we are in this together, and it is a
Right.
struggle. And the struggle may become more of a struggle as the time goes on.
With
And
little doubt.
yeah, and art has so much power. Art has so much strength. You know, that the smile you have in your self-portrait, you know, it's like you are that calm figure who's kind of contemplating and just being present in that. And then in your abstract piece, you know, that experimentation. How does it feel for you when you break out of the gestural figurative work and you just go full into experimentation, exploration, play?
How does it feel? Gosh, sometimes the play can be intimidating.
How so?
Well, because it's so wide open to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the whole, where do I begin? Where do I, I'm tapped in and I've got all these emotions, I've got all these thoughts, all these stories going on inside me.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I begin? I can grab out there, but I'm going to grab two or three at the same time. And so taking those two or three, how can they be a theme together? How can these things work together?
Hmm.
And so that's usually where my abstract and my non-figurative stuff starts from, is with an emotion or a story. This one is entitled Frolic, and it's done in hot pink and lime green and the peacock blue, along with his flesh tones. And it's just really talking about the funness of being a young person,
Mm.
and uh, and the carefreeness of being young compared to being older and being forced to think about things like the economy and state of the world and all the other things that weight us down.
Yeah,
Uh, this is an experimental, an expression of freedom.
I love that. Do you feel like that expression of freedom carries through as kind of an overarching principle within what you do?
I try, to keep freedom as a concept that I integrate where I'm able to.
Mm-hmm. Of
Um, Not all projects necessarily work as well when you're
course.
going completely free, but I can bring an element of surprise, at least,
Mm-hmm.
uh, an unusual technique or combination of materials. I like to work a lot with acrylic mixed with oil and oil pastel on top of the layers.
Yeah.
I think you can get some effects that you can't get just with one or the other. Um, like there's metallics and color shifting colors, and that are all available on an acrylic side that you don't have in the oil side.
Right.
But um, using them together with the beauty and luminosity that comes with oils,
Yeah.
it's really exciting.
I know. It's fun when our art is exciting. When
Yes.
our art makes time feel timeless. It allows us to be into that flow state, and we're not thinking about what's on our phone, what's outside, what other things we have to do on our agenda for the day, bigger picture stuff. It's like that mental freedom, that physical freedom of play, of engagement, of showing up with our work. It is just so essential as an artist. I'm, and I appreciate that that's like these are, foundational, fundamental aspects for you within your work that you work to put out there. How has your work been received around the country and where you live in Alabama? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, quite well. Let me switch gears on paintings. The next one. I had the opportunity to participate in a group show last year in Texas, and this piece is hush. Sorry about that. My dogs. This piece is the sunset from the sunset scene from that option. Let me get
No worries whatsoever, Liphus.
Sorry about that. This scene is from that experience. It was at an old family farm that's been converted to an art center in the town of Burleson, Texas. And this was the stock tank where the sun was coming down. The mesquite trees were yet to be leafed out, and so but they were sitting there dancing in the light, and it just looked just so beautiful, and it was definitely a memory I wanted to retain.
Oh, that's nice.
So I it's acrylic with oil on top, red underpainting, then just allow the sun to bounce off all the edges.
It has a beautiful amount of warmth. It's very warm.
Yeah, and so that experience has led to the Burleson Art Center. It's the Russell Farms Art Center is the actual name of it. They offered me a residency this year, and I'll be leaving on Sunday for a week-long residency, exploring the back roads of Ellis and Johnson County, Texas.
Fantastic.
Finding different scenes along my same vein of work that I normally do, my landscapes, but just with a different scenery in Texas instead of Alabama.
And you're gonna
be there for a week.
You'll have a fire under you because you'll be there for just a week to be as productive as you can.
I'll have 5 days to make a body of work. They're putting on a figure drawing session for me on Thursday night, so that way all of my areas of interest will be explored. And then at the end of the week, I'll have a gallery talk on Saturday.
Excellent.
And I'll speak about my career as a graphic designer and as a painter. And then after that, we'll have a 3-hour-long reception with barbecue and beer and a trunk show where I'll be selling some smaller works at friendly prices for those who can't afford the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
And so that way I'll be able to hopefully meet all the price points and have gas money to come home.
Well, hopefully you'll have more than gas money to come home.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Sounds like a wonderful experience. Is this your first time doing a residency? Do you want to do more like this?
This is definitely my first residency. Okay. As far as doing it again, we'll see how this one goes. I definitely have an interest in it. I'm going to be doing some plein air painting as well as just some studio work. So it'll be really stretching my my
Good. That's awesome. Very excited to see what you come up with in that time of 5 days of just complete creative opportunity, from morning to night. It definitely seems like it'll be a really wonderful experience. And then is that work going to be after it comes from Texas? Or are you going to be showing any of that work locally so your community can see it?
Yeah, whatever doesn't sell from the Texas show will be coming back home with me in June. Well, the added bonus, the curator and his wife will be bringing whatever doesn't sell to me.
Oh, that's nice.
So they'll be coming to visit in June, and then in July I have a space in Millbrook, which is just north of Montgomery. They have 3 gallery spaces inside the exhibit hall, and I'll be in all 3 of those gallery spaces in July. July 10th from 4:30 to 6 will be the reception.
Fantastic.
And
You've
so
got
it's going to be a really, really nice show. I'm going
nice.
to have all my big pieces, as well as greeting cards and little things, and whatever doesn't sell in Texas, I'll bring that with me.
Yeah, you got a full docket.
Oh yeah, it's
fantastic.
And then in August, I have a gallery in North Alabama in Scottsboro, who's invited me to bring some work up to exhibit there. So they are exclusive gallery where they really don't just take everybody in. You have to be invited. So wonderful. I'm excited about that.
Well, it seems like you're putting in all the hard work and doing what you need to keep satisfying your soul and make the work you want to make and get yourself out there to all these places. I commend you for the growth that, we've been able to work together now for a few years, knowing each other as artists. And, it's a pleasure to see like how deep you've gone and how you've claimed that identity and you've claimed the opportunities in front of you. And, I remember, just kind of as a backstory, at one point you told me, the white canvas was something really challenging for you. And now to see the work that you're doing and how you're even just doing a red underpainting, to immediately remove that obstacle and then to create these works that are such so various, it's exciting to see.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Liphus, where can people see your work online?
Online, you can find me on Instagram under Liphus Design, or under Liphus. Liphus Design's exclusive art. Liphus, the Liphus page, you'll get some dogs, as well as some art. But then you can find me on Facebook as well under Liphus Design.
Fantastic. Are those the main places? Facebook.
Those are the main 2 places. Yeah, Facebook and Instagram. Instagram's a little bit easier to see all the works at once, and so I try to promote the Instagram page.
Anything else that you want to tell us about any other paintings or any other processes, inspirations, aspirations as an artist?
I can really just can't recommend exploring mindset enough. That really has been the game changer for me, is focusing on how I think and what thoughts I allow to dwell in my head, and to what I am trying to achieve in my life. And just staying positive, making little notes for yourself, put on the mirror or the refrigerator. They might seem silly and hokey, but it works. It really and truly works.
Love it. It's inspiring for me to talk to you today. And I look forward to hopefully getting to meet you in person someday and
definitely get to see, it'd be nice.
Your art in person. That would be a really awesome experience. Well, thank you so much, Liphus, for spending the last half hour talking about your work, your inspirations, your ideology, all the stuff you have on the docket going forward. And it's so great to see the large breadth of work that you can continue to create, and how mindset and your ability to focus on positivity and bring that into your work through play and freedom and experimentation, it's really It's good stuff. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you. And thank you all for watching another artist interview. We have another one to come next week. And I am always excited to be talking to artists around the country. And if anybody's interested in talking about their work, please reach out to me. And once again, thank you, Liphus, Swindall. Fantastic to have a great conversation with you. You're awesome. And I look forward to catching up with you soon. All right. Take care of yourself.
Be good.